What's up, church family? Welcome back to the Revivalists for Christ channel. I'm your host, Jordan, and we are back with another live stream. If you guys can go ahead and let me know that you can see and hear me all right by putting your favorite street sign emoji in the chat. I feel that's appropriate for today's conversation, but I want to hop in and see who is in the chat. So let's take a gander who joined us early. Spider Monkey! Let's see here. Trying to get to my... There we go. You ain't my mama on period. Thanks for joining. And Daniel. All right, so that is who I see right now in the chat, guys. So today I wanted to talk about an experience that I've had a few years ago. I was planning on releasing my devotional today, and as you guys know, if you were keeping up with my community posts or looking out for it, that did not happen. I touched on this briefly in my last stream where coming out of the laundromat last week, I injured myself and I kind of rolled my ankle. And so that hurt pretty bad for a couple of days, but then it got really, really bad. And as a result, it became hard to do anything. And so I fell behind on my deadline when it came to completing things, and I am a perfectionist, so I did not want to just rush and put anything out there. I wanted the chance to go back over things, make sure that everything looks good, and for that reason, I was not able to release it on Monday, but I plan to take the time lost this week and put it towards the coming week in order to ensure that the devotional makes it out next week. So I do appreciate your guys's patience, and I appreciate the continued prayers as far as recovery goes. But I figured it would be a great time to talk a little bit about this idea of the car accident story that you guys hear me reference every once in a while, and how that contributes to my chronic pain and kind of why this whole situation was exacerbated by chronic pain. But I say Toph and Cherie! Can you guys see and hear me all right, by the way? I put the microphone much further away than it normally is, but I can fix that. Just give me 1 second. Nobody comes into this business for hours, but the moment I hit live, there we are. So let's just see who is here. Okay. Yeah, I don't get this. It's completely dead, so I'm like, okay, well, I will go live then. For those who don't know, I have a business that I oversee right out there, and so I wasn't even going to live stream tonight, but I was so looking forward to having content every day in August. So I wanted to make sure that I had the chance to come on, and I thought this would be an appropriate topic because I was like, oh, well, I want them to know why there's this delay in terms of the devotional, but I also thought it would be a chance to really dive deep into the story of my car accident and where I saw God working at and all that. But also, let's see here. Trying to show you guys something, but I can't find it. But I hope you guys are able to join me tomorrow, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern. I am having Christian Origdon on. Christian is a former Satanist, and he's going to be coming on and sharing his testimony. He's going to be sharing his experience as far as what was all involved with his worship of Satan and all that, how he came to Christ, and as well as elements of Freemasonry and how that played a role in him getting involved with Satanism. So that's going to be a phenomenal conversation I'm super excited for. Ray! I see Spider. Prayer request. Absolutely, brother. Ah, thanks, Cherie. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, guys. Another reason why I wanted, well, let me retract. A big reason why I wanted to push it out until next Monday is because I did want to give a early release to my patrons, and unfortunately with my backtrack and being unable to deliver in time, I still want to be able to give them that early access. So I will probably be releasing it to them Friday or Saturday, and then I will be releasing it to everybody on Monday. But I'm very appreciative of my patrons. If you guys haven't seen my most recent thumbnail, that was only possible because my patrons had made it possible for me to get a thumbnail designer, which has made it possible to save so much time, yet also have thumbnails that are going to perform well on the algorithm and get people to watch this content over maybe some lordship or Arminian-based content. So it's all about outperforming. I'm not afraid to admit that. It's all about outperforming the other results. And so, because I care about sound theology. So, with that said, just want to thank my Patreons. And if you guys are interested in becoming a Patreon, you can do so. And the link below, $5 a month, gets you access to Patreon perks. So, where do I start with this story? Well, okay. So, I moved to Florida in 2018, and that was obviously a huge move. Coming from my small little town where my idea of a highway was a two-way street with horse and buggies on them, to the metropolis that is Tampa, Florida, I was a bit over my head, especially when it came to traffic. And I did not have a license, nor did I have a car, nor did I have any idea how to drive. I didn't realize just how impossible it was to get around Tampa without transportation. Like, even if you think you can ride a bike someplace, it's insane. Like, all of a sudden, there's no more bike path out of nowhere, or there's no way to continue. I remember my first time riding a bike in Tampa, and I had to like take my bike and what's this? What are those like cement things in the middle of the road called? I had to like lift my bike over that, and I had to crawl over that. Oh, so bad. It was so bad, let alone embarrassing. But I had no other option. So when I basically I came to the conclusion that, oh, I'm going to have to learn how to drive. Now, I don't want to blame my parents or anyone else, but I think this is a skill that should have been taught to me by my parents. That was a skill that neither of them wanted to teach me. So learning how to drive was very difficult when you had nobody teaching you how to drive. So here I am in Tampa trying to figure out how to drive so I can get around places, because I'm actually living in Wesley Chapel, which those who are familiar with that area of Florida know that Wesley Chapel is slightly out of Tampa itself. So it's not just like walking distance from Wesley Chapel to Tampa. So you do need a car in order to get to the places. And I felt a little bit burned on this end because I originally moved there thinking I was going to be in Tampa. And then last minute, the roommate who asked me to move down there switched some plans up, and it's like, hey, let's do Wesley Chapel instead. It's halfway to my work, halfway to my school. And I figured I don't have any real commitments, so why not go there? So I did. And the thing about my move to Florida was it really was my pull to show independence to my family, who I felt was completely doubting me throughout every endeavor. And that is going to play a huge role in the motive behind why I made some of the decisions I did, because I wanted to prove my family wrong. I'm just going to say right now, if it's ever your motive to do something in order to prove someone wrong, it's probably not the right motive. So here I am in Tampa from about January to April. No job, no getting out and about. I was just like, what did I do? Just move down to Florida to sit in an apartment. And I eventually got my roommate to teach me how to drive. And so I learned how to drive. I went and took my test. I just want to say the DMV, the government issued driving license officiators, they said it was like I was driving 4 years. So just know I was not a bad driver. Period. Now, at the same time, so I was applying for jobs at this same time. And there were some jobs that I was applying for here, some here, and I got a couple of offers, but the one that I absolutely snatched up was this job offer as an account executive. And basically, it would give me the chance to work on marketing campaigns for larger companies. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the company. It's a cell phone provider that I had a cell phone provider as a client, but that job was going to pay anywhere from $1,000 to $1,700 a week. That was insane money for me. It may not be for everybody that's watching this, but for your poor boy who was seeing more money in a paycheck than he's probably ever seen in his bank account. Yeah, so that was like a dream job. The only thing is that job absolutely 100% required a car, because I had to drive all day, every day, to several businesses, several buildings. My first day out there, we went all the way to Orlando. And since I was training that day, I didn't need to actually drive myself. I was driving with the person who was training me. Now, so I started day one, and that night I went to get my very first car. Now, the whole car buying process, that could be a story on its own. So we're just going to keep it focused that I eventually found a car. I eventually found a car dealership to provide said car. And I went to make my purchase after work that day. Wow. How many times I had to sign my name. And it's just so funny Like, I was like, the irony of me asking how many times am I going to have to sign my name in my head is going to be so ironic towards the end of this story. So just make sure that you stick around for that. But what had happened was I got my car, and it was from CarMax. I don't know if I'm honest. Honestly, guys, CarMax, if you're looking for a car, I strongly suggest them. They are very, very good at what they do. So I'm just going to throw that out there. They didn't even sponsor me. They should. They should do a lot of things. Oh, we'll get into that. But anyway, so I got my little 2014 Hyundai Elantra. It was brand new, my very first car. It was black, had a sunroof, leather interior. It was just so cool. I was like, wow, I have my Hyundai Elantra and I have my job as an account executive. Like, I made it. I can officially, like, go post on social media, ha 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 ha, to all the people back home and be like, you thought I couldn't do it. And I can just shower and bathe in my victory. And surely I had drafted in my mind that this blessing, which it was a blessing, but this everything was a blessing from God. And 12 hours later, I was on my way to work. I had already been on the road for a full hour. So, again, not a bad driver. I had already been on the road for an hour, got through all the busy traffic, all the underpasses, bridges, everything, got through everything that should be difficult as far as traffic goes. I make it to town. Now, this is my first time driving myself to work, so I know I'm approaching work, but I missed my turn. So I was just like, well, okay. I mean, I made sure I was early because I don't know. I'm weird. When I go to work, I like to be like 15 to 30 minutes early. Just, I don't know. I don't know. I'm a person that's like, if I'm not early, I'm late. So it's not like I was running late or anything. And so I was just like, okay, I'll take the next turn. That's fine. So I turned onto that road, got to the end of that street to the area that I had to turn onto. It was a red light, and then green light went. I was following another car out, taking a left turn, and all of a sudden, I get T-boned in the back end of my car. And this is where I made my mistake. I will own where I made my mistake. I looked back at what just hit me, and I didn't realize that I had lost control of the vehicle. And because my turn was almost complete, I was very close to the sidewalk, and I went over the curb into a concrete pole. Head first into a concrete pole, 12 hours after financing my brand new car, on my way to work, second day of work. Oh. And this is what was really difficult for me. First thing I was met with was, wow, like everybody at home was right. I did fail. So that immediate, like, your failure started playing in my head. And then came some questions because it just seemed so clear that this was a blessing from God. So, how did it end up like this? It doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense to me. And I remember I tried calling my parents. I think I tried calling my mom first. I couldn't get a hold of her. Tried calling my dad. Then I called my grandmother, and I called my roommate, I believe, after that. My grandmother called my dad, and my dad called me. And the whole thing was very overwhelming emotionally at that time. And I was like hanging out. What was crazy about all this is, first of all, the police and whoever else was necessary as far as the towing company, they took an hour to get there. The reason why that's so crazy is because my car was literally in the middle of the road and I could not move it. So there's just a giant vehicle obstructing traffic for an hour. And I'm just like sitting there because I'm like hoping that it didn't get totaled, which, I mean, once the airbag literally explodes in your face and your car doesn't turn on at all, it's kind of a sign that it's over. But what was so strange about that is I didn't have a single scratch. Like, I could have died right then and there. And instead of acknowledging the grace of God and his mercy in that moment, I was kind of focused on the more temporal things. And what it was strange because I was just like pacing back and forth in that gas station. And I was in such a state of shock. Like, I just was asking like random strangers who didn't even know me, like, am I going to be okay? I probably looked ridiculous. Like, here are people trying to get their morning coffee and paper and go to work. And I'm just like, hey, wait. Am I going to be okay? Am I gonna... That's all right. I don't care. I don't care because we're all human. And I think one of my biggest fears at that time, which went on to be the case, was developing some form of chronic pain. And at that time, I felt no pain. My adrenaline was going through the roof, but I was like crying to my dad. I was like, I can't go through life with chronic pain. For some reason, I was just so terrified of chronic pain in that moment. And my dad just kind of like brought me back to reality in the moment. And my roommate, when he ended up picking me up, I definitely was in a state of shock. I was in such a state of shock, guys, that I kept telling people that the accident wasn't that bad. I told people for months that the accident, and I genuinely believed that. It wasn't that bad. Like, I didn't, like, I don't even understand how I came to that conclusion and why. Like, I was telling everybody it wasn't that bad. Went headfirst into a concrete pole. It wasn't that bad. So, and like I said, I genuinely believe that it wasn't that bad. So it wasn't me trying to be misleading to anyone. And what happened when my roommate picked me up was I just kept alternating between laughing and making jokes about the situation to crying to like having serious conversations. And so he ended up driving me to the hospital just because I wanted to get checked up. And I was basically told that there was going to be some pain for the next few days, that we wouldn't really know if there was going to be ongoing pain. But like, as far as any immediate concerns, they didn't find any, which was great. That was a blessing. Well, this is the part that I haven't got to yet. So since my car was totaled, I couldn't keep that job. So now I don't have a job. and I don't have a car. These are the moments where I'm like, oh, God was definitely there. Because I'm a person that I'm not going to pay for anything that I don't have to. And so when I was getting offered all these incentives to come with your car, I was like, okay, I'll listen because I know it's your job, but I'm not going to buy anything. And one of the things that was offered to me was gap insurance. And basically, gap insurance is if you total your vehicle while financing it, the insurance will cover the amount due. And I was like, I don't need gap insurance. And then he's like, oh, the car came off the lot total like right after purchasing. And I'm like, okay, but also how many cars pulled off the lot and have been driving for 10 years? Like, I was just like, that's not going to be me kind of situation. But I eventually did go for the gap insurance, and thank God I did, or else I would have been in even more debt. I would have had a $600 car bill with no job to pay for it. Give me 1 second, guys. See who just walked in. I really need a screen or something right there. Okay. Yeah. So, Sorry. I'm so sorry. That was so loud in your guys' ear. I apologize. That's what I was trying to get to. So couldn't keep the job, gap insurance. Yeah, so basically I was just right back to where I started. I was right back to the situation that I was trying to get out of, but now I was in a situation with all this new stress, all these new problems, and more questions than answers. I dealt with very bad PTSD for for weeks, maybe months. I could not get that feeling of the car crash, the impact out of my system. I constantly felt like I was making that impact. And I kept smelling the smoke. And it's just like I kept going through the experience. And I think this may have gotten better since moving back to my small little town, but I could not be on the road of Tampa without just horrible anxiety in traffic because I just constantly felt like I was on the verge of another car accident. I literally got out of an Uber car. I don't know what this guy was doing. I don't know what he was doing. He started driving on the wrong side of the road, and I was like, stop the car right now. I'm getting out. So, and the thing is, that's mainly how I got around for the longest time was Uber and friends. But every time we would be like approaching cars or anything, I'd be like slamming you know how like passengers are hitting the brake pedals that aren't there. It was so bad. I was so hyper aware of everything. Like, one thing that I forgot about until just this second is I used to, it's not like I screamed like, ah! It was like, ah! Like a really quick scream. Every time like we got near a car, I forgot about that. And that used to be so distracting to the people I was driving with. And they're like, what is your problem? Yeah, I forgot about that, man. But definitely dealt with a lot of issues. And so the one question, or the one thing I was trying to figure out is could I how could this be the result of something that I felt was a blessing from God? And this right here was a huge lesson for me. The lesson was, I think so often we try to say our goals, our motives, and our ambitions are the will of God in our lives. And every time we strive towards those goals and we achieve those goals, we credit that as a blessing from God. But at the same time, I don't see anywhere in my life where God was calling me to be an account executive. Quite the opposite. He was actually calling me to do this ministry back in 2017. But I basically said no, or maybe I'll do it someday. But I had this plan for Florida in 2018. So while I was chasing my own goals and ambitions in 2018, I kept lying to myself that everything was actually in service to God, that everything good was a blessing from God. And again, good things, positive things, provisions, they're blessings from God. But to play this narrative in my head that very clearly was a self-focused, self-motivated ambition, and to watch it literally crash and burn 12 hours later, that can't be of God. So it made me ask the question, well, what exactly is, how is God going to use this? And in that time, I learned how my struggles and the things that I face could be used for the benefit of other people. I learned how God is able to use those times of trouble and strife. So even though it may not have been the will of God for my life to have a Hyundai Elantra with this career as an account executive, he was able to use that whole experience to help me mature spiritually and also come to the realization. Oh, hold on, guys. Right. Sorry about that, guys. People don't come in all day, but now they come in. I completely missed a customer. So, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, there we go, there we go. So what we're going to do we'll probably wrap up the conversation because it was just going to, this is towards the end of the story anyway, because now I got to go attend to people. But, yeah, so frustrating. People don't come in all day. So I was like, surely people won't come in at 10 at night. But, yes. But basically, I came to the realization that God was able to use this time that brought on so much confusion for my good and His glory. And I found myself at a place where I was actually thankful that I went through that experience. And what was so ironic about the whole thing was I got a card from that dealership basically saying, sorry about your car accident and all that. And the person who helped me purchase the car actually spoke to the manager, and I ended up getting a job at that car dealership. And I ended up working in the business office. And the funny part about all that is because all those paperwork that I was signing my signature on, and I was like, how many times am I going to have to do this? Yeah, that became my full-time job. So every time they were signing their name, I was signing my name, and I was doing that thousands of times a day. So it was funny and ironic, and God definitely has a sense of humor. But definitely, I think when it comes to the ongoing effects of this accident and not being sure if I'll ever drive again and dealing with things like chronic pain, I can still look back and be like, to God be the glory. And if it's His will that I drive again, that will happen in His timing for His glory. And also, if I am healed from this chronic pain, again, it's in His timing for His glory. But at the same time, I cannot harden my heart or become bitter towards God because I do not see the outcome that I want to see. Because I've already seen the consequences of when I try to force an outcome. So to do that again, I feel would just lead into more chaos and turmoil than what originally was there. So I hope this was encouraging to you guys. Again, make sure that you tune in tomorrow morning for my conversation with Christian Arngton, the previous ex-Satanist. We're going to be going live at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern, and we're going to be talking about his experience as a Satanist as well as his encounters with Freemasonry. So guys, I do appreciate you so very much. I thank you for your patience and understanding for the devotional not being able to get out this week. I will be working my behind off this week to make sure that it comes out next Monday. And again, my Patreons will have early access to that on Friday. So I do greatly appreciate everyone's support. I love you all so much, and I hope you have an amazing night. So much to my generous patrons who help me do this full time. If you'd like to help me do this full time, there is a PayPal donation link in the description, or consider becoming a Patreon today. For only $5 a month, you can gain access to weekly Patreon only streams and posts, all my research notes, and all your comments will be prioritized and answered first. Higher tiers receive free Revivalists for Christ merch, a shout out in all videos, early access to content, and even can decide what content I post on the channel. There is much more, so consider becoming a Patreon today by heading over to patreon.com/revivalistforchrist. If you're not sure that you're going to heaven, be sure to click the video on the left or click on the right for more great content. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel to help equip you, the 21st century Christian, in the field of apologetics and evangelism. By